What's up, Dolph fans? Welcome back into the Baptist Health Studios for another edition of the Drive Time Podcast. Here, my exclusive interview with Dolphins first-round pick, Kenneth Grant. Kenneth, Kenny G, what should I call you here, man? Welcome in.
Kenny G, KG. I like all of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Kenny G, you're familiar with the sax player as well from the 90s? Probably a little bit before your time.
I looked him up on Safari, but I haven't listened to any of his music.
That's my first thought. You guys are a little bit different, though, in terms of your professions and your career. So good company, though. So the first thing that really stands out for me and fascinates me about this whole job is players like you, because guys that are your size should not be able to move the way that you do, right? And some of that is natural gifts, obviously, but I'm always curious to know what goes into building the perfect NFL body like that. So what is the process for getting yourself ready for a football season and being so big and so athletic? What's that all look like for you?
Yeah, really just rest and recovery. I'll say the biggest thing is because, like you said, I'm just so big, moving at this size. You know, I need to always be in the cold tub, in the sauna, getting massages or dry needling and things like that. So it's really just like taking care of your body and eating the right things for sure.
So that seems to be like a Michigan thing, a program that pumps out all these well-conditioned athletes year after year. What did being part of that program under the last, several coaches you guys have had, defensively, head coaches, a bunch of great coaches, what did that program teach you about discipline and training your craft?
Yeah, I'll say it all started with the strength and conditioning staff. That's where it started. You know, they're the ones we spend the most time with. They trained us to be, disciplined and also know how to conduct our business in a mannerly way. Just because, like, off the field and on the field, they translate. So what you do off the field can translate what you do on the field. So they're always being mentally tough on us. Preparing us to be mentally tough. And expect the unexpected every day. Like, I'll tell you a quick story. Like, we have, like, on our running days, we have, like, our rollers all laid out, and then right next to it is a card. Every roller has a card next to it, and if you flip the card and he says, "What's your card on?" the whole group has to go jump in a cold tub and then run your conditioning test. So that's a quick funny story.
You're gonna bring one of those games down here to South Florida. Maybe you can get the other guys on that same game.
Might as well make them tough.
There you go. Let's talk some of the actual on-field football stuff here, because man, a guy like you that can play the nose tackle, can play the 3 technique all the way out to the 5 technique. Again, that stuff fascinates me, and I'm always so curious about players and processing things. And for the defensive line perspective, you have a snap of a finger to read pass, to read run, play pass, whatever it might be. So I guess my question for you is how does reading the blocks from those different positions differ for you in terms of how you process and when you line up in different positions?
Yeah, it's not really it's not really different, it's just like a different type of technique and different leverage that you have to, play with, in a one technique. You kind of got the advantage because the center, has one hand on the ball and one hand free, so he doesn't have 2 hands. So you got to be quick with your hands. But in the 3 technique, the guard, he has both his hands, and, he already knows where you're going in the snap count. So that's when you have to really tighten down your technique and be fast off the ball. I think what plays into that is, having quick hands, hips, hands, and feet, need to be quick and coming off the ball ASAP.
I think it was the Ohio State game, Donovan Jackson. You ran like a loop off of the outside edge and beat him with speed around the corner. I'm like, okay, that's a guy that can play nose tackle at 345 and do that as well. We're in good company here. Speaking of your Michigan days, Mike McDonald, the first DC there, he was there when you got recruited, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so he was on staff there, and I'm a coaching clinic nerd. I like watching those guys talk about coaching and just different ideas, football philosophies. And he was talking about the insulation of pass rush games and the interchangeability in terms of the alignments we just talked about, right? Can you tell us about how translatable that is on this defense with Coach Weaver, who, I don't know if you knew this, but he coached under Mike McDonald in Baltimore?
Yeah, so when I took a visit here, we went over the playbook and things like that, and I was kind of like, oh, this is, kind of the same thing as Michigan, but, different verbiage and different, like, little tweaks and techniques. But, I was real comfortable with the playbook and his style of play, just understanding what the coaches want and how their philosophies are.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. I think it's going to translate pretty quickly for you here. And so just kind of talking to you about this stuff, like, you get a big smile on your face every time I bring it up. It seems like you love football. It's kind of a read I get on you. Like, what is it? What is it about football that you love so much?
I don't like to lose, to be honest.
Perfect. Like, nobody loses.
Yeah, I don't like to lose, even if it's like a rep or a practice rep or, even in a weight room, like, competing in the weight room. I don't like to lose at anything, to be honest.
So back in high school, you played on the offensive line, the offensive line as well as the defensive line. What did that teach you about playing D-line?
It kind of, taught me that, you kind of got an advantage at offensive line. You know where you're going, you know the snap count, so you can get off of guys real quick. But for me, it was really fun. Just being able to physically dominate guys and kind of use that advantage of me playing defense and offense against them. So it's pretty fun.
You're two athletics down the offensive side. Those guys got to go to defense because you're more athletic than the guys on the offensive side, right?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that kind of how that goes? So also basketball in high school.
Yep.
Through a shot put, track and field. I'm just curious. Tell me about all the sports. You probably tried them all at some point in your youth, right?
Yeah. So I'll say my first sport was baseball. Okay. Played t-ball when I was little. Then kind of transitioned to football, Pop Warner, things like that. Then once I got to high school, carried on football, added basketball, track. Funny thing is, our during the off season with football, our head coach made us go up with the wrestlers and wrestle. So, added a little of that to my repertoire. But, all around great athlete.
How big were you on the basketball? Like, what was your size in high school in basketball?
Probably a little heavier than I am now, but
really,
yeah, for sure.
Dude, I played high school basketball. I have to defend you in the post. That would not be fun for a little high schooler.
Oh yeah,
come on, man.
Especially I was getting all the rebounds, everything.
That would be hilarious. Watch a little drop step, little 350 pounds into a 140-pound soaking wet kid. That's hilarious to think about. Let's finish up right here. We've all seen the viral play, the Penn State play. Katron Allen chased him down from the back. I'm curious if you can take us through that and what that play says about you and in your game.
Yeah, so I'll just start off with the play and what I saw. They ran a center and a guard pull play towards the outside, and then I was like, I think kind of everybody in the defense knew that side specifically was our weak side, and they schemed it up perfectly. I'll give them that. And I was like, in the play, I was like, oh snap, that's a big hole. So I saw our linebacker Mike B. He was the closest, so I tried to push him into the hole to force him to make the tackle, but that didn't work out. So I was like already facing towards the runner, so I was just hawked him down, but. What it says about me is, I'm gonna do the unexpected things, guys don't like to do. I mean, I'm running down the field 30 yards, but, the next play I lined up and it was time to go. So I think I'm very well conditioned and, I got that grit in me to stick into things like that.
Was that film review fun the next day, taking a look at that rep?
Oh, yeah.
Coaches giving you some love?
Yeah, a lot of love.
Good stuff. New Dolphins defensive tackle, 13th pick in this year's draft, Kenneth Grant. Thank you so much for your time today, man. I appreciate you. Good stuff.
Go Fins.
Fins up, baby.